OnionGPT, the ruthless mentor. 01. The wrong question. Every time a new AI model launches, the tech press rushes to ask the exact same question. Is it smarter than ChatGPT? Can it beat GPT 4.0? Does it pass the bar exam? They are measuring the wrong thing. While the tech world focuses on intelligence, threat actors in the dark web are asking a completely different question. Can it help me make money without getting caught? That single shift in perspective changes everything. It's why tools with names like OnionGPT, FraudGPT, and WormGPT are quietly shifting the balance of power online. But here's the twist that most mainstream media reports completely miss. These tools are not advanced. They aren't super intelligent digital weapons. In fact, under the hood, they are remarkably average. We don't need to fear them because they are elite. We need to fear them because they reduce the cost of committing crime to near zero. And when the cost of an attack drops to zero, the volume of attacks approaches infinity. 2. The skill bottleneck. To understand why this matters, we have to look at how cybercrime used to work. For decades, the entire industry had a built-in bottleneck, the talent problem. If you wanted to be a threat actor who actually made serious money, you needed a brutal, highly technical skill set. You had to spend years studying networking protocols. You had to understand Windows internals, memory management, and how to write custom malware in low-level languages like C or assembly. You had to fail, debug, and learn the hard way. This steep learning curve acted as a natural firewall for the rest of society. It kept the number of active, dangerous attackers relatively small. Sure, you had script kiddies, beginners who copied and pasted tutorials from underground forums. But the moment their copied code broke, or the moment they hit a modern enterprise security wall, they were stuck. They didn't have the foundational knowledge to adapt. AI completely flips that script. Instead of spending weeks learning Python or analyzing assembly language, a novice attacker can just ask an AI assistant. It doesn't magically turn them into an elite nation-state hacker overnight. What it does is mass-produce mediocrity. It elevates thousands of incompetent actors into capable, efficient attackers. And history shows that in any conflict, sheer quantity can often overwhelm pure quality. Zerfii 03 Peeling back the onion. So, what actually is OnionGPT? If you browse underground hacking forums or encrypted Telegram channels, the marketing material looks terrifying. It promises a digital assassin, an AI completely optimized for malicious hacking, capable of bypassing any antivirus, breaking any encryption, and writing undetectable malware with a single prompt. But security researchers who actually buy these tools and tear them apart tell a completely different story. When you rip off the hood of an underground AI chatbot, you almost never find a proprietary, custom-built cyber weapon. Instead, you usually find one of three things. First, you find an open-source large language model, like a variant of Meta's Llama, where someone has manually stripped out the safety filters and system prompts. Second, you find a basic fine-tune, an open-source model that has been fed a dataset of leaked exploit code and underground forum archives so it uses the slang and terminology of the criminal underworld. Or third, and most common, you find a cheap API wrapper. The creators are literally just funneling prompts to legitimate, commercial AI models using clever prompt injection techniques to bypass the commercial filters, and then charging a premium to unsuspecting buyers on the dark web. The marketing is brilliant. The technology is ordinary. It's the cybercrime equivalent of taking a basic, run-of-the-mill commuter car, slapping racing stripes on the hood, and selling it as a Formula One vehicle. But don't let that fraud fool you into thinking it isn't dangerous. The Velocity Accelerator. The real product being sold on the dark web isn't intelligence, it's velocity. Think about the traditional workflow of an online scammer. To launch a targeted phishing campaign against a European company, they used to have to write a convincing email. If English or French wasn't their native language, the email would be riddled with broken grammar and strange phrasing. A modern employee would look at it, spot the red flags immediately, and hit the report button. With an AI assistant, that bottleneck vanishes. The attacker can tell the bot to draft a psychologically precise, flawless email pretending to be an HR executive discussing updated corporate policy. They can instantly translate that exact email into 30 different languages, perfectly capturing the corporate tone and cultural nuances of each region. Suddenly, a solo operator can run a global phishing campaign that looks like it was written by a professional public relations firm. It doesn't stop at social engineering. If an attacker wants to understand a newly disclosed software vulnerability, they don't have to spend hours reading dense, technical white papers. They feed the document into the AI and say, summarize this vulnerability, explain the attack vector, and write a basic automation script to scan for open ports that are vulnerable to it. Instead of spending days researching, diagnosing, and writing code, they spend 90 seconds chatting with a bot. The AI acts as a central nervous system for a fragmented ecosystem of low-skill criminals. Democratizing the attack lifecycle. This is the real disruption of generative AI in cyber operations. It is the democratization of friction. Before AI, a beginner spent their time crawling through hundreds of old forum posts, trying to find a tutorial that still worked, dealing with broken links, and manually troubleshooting their code. Now they just ask one chatbot. They don't search, they converse. The learning curve has been flattened into a straight line. When security teams analyze the code generated by these underground tools, they frequently point out that the scripts are buggy, prone to hallucinations, and easily detected by modern endpoint detection and response tools. Security executives use this to reassure themselves that everything is under control, but that is a critical, fundamental misunderstanding of how the threat landscape is evolving. We shouldn't fear these tools because they can write a flawless, undetectable zero-day exploit. We should fear them because they change the economics of defense. The cybercrime productivity stack. Modern threat actors aren't relying on AI to do everything. They are building what can only be described as a cybercrime productivity stack. They take stolen credentials bought for pennies on dark web marketplaces. They combine them with public exploit databases that list known, unpatched vulnerabilities. They use cheap, automated cloud infrastructure to host fake, malicious websites. And they tie it all together using AI assistants to manage the scale and speed of the operation. None of these individual components are new. The vulnerabilities have always been there. Stolen passwords have always been available. Automated infrastructure has existed for a decade. What AI does is act as the connective tissue. It allows a single human being to orchestrate these separate components at a speed and volume that used to require an entire organized syndicate. Volume itself becomes the weapon. If an attacker sends 10 highly sophisticated, manually crafted phishing emails, a good security team will likely catch them. But if an AI allows a mediocre attacker to send 10,000 personalized, grammatically perfect phishing emails every hour, changing the wording slightly for every single target, the sheer volume will eventually find a crack in the armor. Someone, somewhere, will be tired. Click the link and let the attacker in. What defenders must learn. This realization forces us to reevaluate how we defend our digital infrastructure. The biggest mistake an organization can make right now is assuming that an attacker needs elite skills to breach their network. They don't. They just need persistence, cheap tools, and an AI mentor that never sleeps. For defenders, this means the old ways of training employees are obsolete. We can no longer tell staff to look out for poor grammar or suspicious spelling as the definitive signs of a scam. Those giveaways are gone forever. Social engineering is now indistinguishable from legitimate corporate communication. Furthermore, because attackers can adapt to newly disclosed vulnerabilities in minutes rather than days, the window of time that companies have to patch their systems has shrunk to almost nothing. The moment a security flaw is announced to the world, An AI is already explaining to thousands of amateur hackers exactly how to abuse it. Defenders have to counter this by removing human friction from the defense side as well. This means enforcing strict identity boundaries, implementing mandatory multi-factor authentication that can't be easily phished, keeping systems updated automatically, and deploying layered detection systems that look for anomalous behavior rather than just matching signatures of known malware. The cost of the game. Ultimately, OnionGPT teaches us a brutal lesson about technology. Don't fear the mythical super AI that bypasses military encryption or takes down the power grid with a single command. That makes for a great Hollywood movie, but it distracts from the real danger. Fear the ruthless mentor. Fear the tool that sits quietly on a server, teaching thousands of mediocre, uninspired actors how to target your school, your small business, or your local hospital simultaneously. Technology rarely changes who wins a conflict overnight. Instead, it changes how many people are allowed to play the game. When the barrier to entry falls, the playing field gets crowded. And when the cost of launching an attack drops effectively to zero, the only way to survive is to make sure your defenses are too expensive, too resilient, and too exhausting for a mediocre attacker to bother trying.